I think this is a good time to kind of be really real with a couple things.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're all kind of trying to figure out whether we should be stocking the fridge and, how we should care for our families and how much we should come to work and all these kind of things. And here's my thoughts. I think that unfortunately sometimes it takes a community pandemic, whatever you want to call it, to have to come to grips with kind of like what is our current situation, right? And the world could change at like a snap of a finger, right? So 2 weeks ago we're like, oh, whatever, kind of making jokes about it, these kind of things. If you guys saw the NBA player,
Yeah,
right?
I saw that.
So he's in the middle of getting interviewed, talking about, like, I don't even know what the subject was, but this was on Monday. He's making light of the coronavirus and touching all the microphones, and within a day, he's been diagnosed with coronavirus, and the entire NBA season has been canceled, and another one of his teammates has got coronavirus, right? And unfortunately, it takes like Tom Hanks getting coronavirus and his wife getting coronavirus, and the Prime Minister, I think you call it Prime Minister of France now, his wife has it,
Yeah.
right? So like, unfortunately, it takes like a celebrity to put us into some type of action. We're getting ready to be out of school. There's gonna be no schools for 2 weeks. I don't know if Aubrey's made the announcement officially, but we're not gonna be having any classes in the Market Center for the rest of the month at least.
I think that's a good idea.
Right. So my point is that we have, part of being in production and part of what we teach here at KW is getting your house in order, right? Particularly financially, right? Because money isn't everything, but not having money is everything.
Exactly.
Right? I think Kanye West said that. I think that's his quote.
Yeah.
Right? And I find that to be incredibly true. Right? Money will get you through things like this. If you had no closings, how long could you last? Right? People's business, I mean, what about the workers at the stadiums that all these players play at?
I know,
Right? What about the teachers that are on, I don't know if they're hourly or not, or all the employees that are hourly that are being told not to show up? What about their mortgage payments? Italy just suspended mortgage payments. I just saw that this morning. So, I mean, we're talking about some serious life-altering things. And so when I'm pushing you guys to go create chaos and create business and start flirting with a lot of people, it's not just so I can stand up here and say it.
Right.
Like, this is our chance to go make a lot of money and have a lot of impact and create a moat around you and the people closest to you. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, anytime that you feel like I'm being a little brash, or I'm being a little direct, or I might hurt your feelings, it's not because I get off on being a jerk.
Right.
Right? It's because I truly am here to make an impact on you guys so that you can make an impact on all the people you're serving. Does that make sense?
That's
Have
what a
passion
coach
for it.
does.
Yeah, especially when I have a passion for what he does.
Right.
And a coach is supposed to hold you accountable, because if not, then you're just gonna slack.
Right, I'm willing to be your friend, but I'm being paid to be your coach. If that makes sense.
It's almost like a parent, you have
It
to be a
is.
parent, not a friend.
That's right.
Can
That's
I
right.
ask something real
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
though, and I don't wanna sound like crazy for asking this, I just don't understand. On the news this morning, they were saying that due to what's going on, it has made it more affordable to buy homes right now, so you better go out and buy.
Well,
I
it's
don't
probably,
understand
they might have been
inflation.
referring to the interest rates, right?
Okay.
So the interest rates are near historic lows. Basically, what ended up happening is, I there's all kinds of stuff happening behind the scenes that none of us understand. But what the public does see is that the interest rate, they had an emergency federal funds rate cut, that's the interest rate that the banks charge each other, which technically is not tied to public mortgage rates, but oftentimes they have a relationship,
Okay.
right? So when they say the Fed cuts rates, that doesn't mean they're lowering interest rates. It means they're lowering interest rate, or to the public, for commercial lending. It means that the rate that the bank charges one another to borrow money is less. What ends up happening though, oftentimes, is the rates that like a bank advertises for mortgages go down. So for example, let's say you're gonna borrow $200,000 at 4%, and now you can borrow it at 3.25%, it's less expensive to borrow the money. So whereas if you got a quote to say, well, I can only afford a home for, let's say, $225, based on my credit score, based on my income, based on my debts, based on my other expenditures and my other, do I have student loan, do I have a car note, like these kind of things?
Right.
Right? Because money is cheaper to borrow, I can borrow more of it. So you may have been working with a buyer, for example, let's say you've been working with a buyer for 2 or 3 months, and they told you their budget was $250. Well, it actually may be higher now. That doesn't mean that they want to spend that money, right? It just means the bank is willing to give it. Make sense? Now, you also have people, just like there are people that are selling stocks at all-time lows, as the market loses basically all the gains over the last 3 years, in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, basically, right? You have people that are either unprepared financially or are having an emotional reaction to what's going on in the financial markets, and they, quote, have to sell, right? This is where the panic people come in, right? So then you got somebody that's listed, let's say, for 225, and they're freaking out, so they go and sell it for nothing, or sell it for 200 or 180 or something like that. They just, quote, gotta get out, they're desperate. It is basically taking a non-desperate situation into one that has some desperation. It's kind of like, when you hear, so let's say you have a foreclosure, right? When there's stress involved in the transaction, you're generally gonna get a better price. It doesn't necessarily gonna mean get a better deal, because if the person couldn't afford to pay their mortgage, I think it's safe to say that they probably weren't servicing their HVAC system twice a year. Right? They probably weren't, taking care of the gutters and the roof and the landscaping and the appliances the way they should have. Not because they're not good people, it's just they just flat out couldn't afford it. They just didn't make it to the top of their list, right? So it's kind of akin to, let's say, a divorce situation, right? Husband and wife don't want to be together anymore, or maybe the wife's moved out, or the husband's moved out, or something like that, and they got to split up the assets, and so you might be able to get a lower price because somebody has to sell, right? So you might see those. We were just on we have a little WhatsApp group for the top 20% in the office, and we're just throwing out things that we're experiencing and these kind of things. And there's like 4 agents in the group last night that have all received offers $40,000 less than the list price.
Really?
Within a day. And the first thing that popped into my mind, it's probably the same person. He's probably just throwing offers out there to people to see if he's gonna get a bite.
Wow.
Now, let's tie that back to lead generation. That is lead generation. Follow me? So let's just assume for a second it was the same guy.
Right.
And he's going into, listings in, let's say, just North Fulton, for example, and saying, I don't care what your list price is, I don't care whether it's accurate or not, I'm gonna throw you an offer for 40 grand less and see if any of this hysteria can cause me to get a good buy. So if he sends out one offer and that person rejects him, he doesn't get a home. If he sends out 200 offers and 3 people say, yeah, I'm scared to death, I'm gonna sell at this lower price, how much did that guy just make? Do you see what I'm saying? So everything is lead generation, if you will. You see where I'm at?
Yes.
So the question then becomes is, are you doing anything like that? Now, I would be very careful, like, I think, it's incredibly bad taste, personally, to be making light of this thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right, like, hey, come get a coronavirus deal, I mean, any of that kind of nonsense, I've seen it online, and I've even seen it with other brokerages that are, virtual brokerages, that are like, hey, no coronavirus at our office, cause we ain't got an office, and I'm like, come on, that is
Yeah.
just about as, lack of tact as you could possibly get.
Yes, 'cause people are actually dying.
People are dying.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, wait till the first celebrity dies, I hate to say it, but it's most likely gonna happen. Right, the physician, the congressional physician, who also, so I guess there's an appointed physician
Yeah.
of the members of Congress and of the Supreme Court. He said that according to his forecasting, or however he comes up with the number, 70 to 100 million Americans will get coronavirus.
He definitely said this morning, his last name starts with an F, I think, that it's gonna get far more worse before it gets better. He was
Of course
saying,
it
even
is.
with the schools being out and stuff being closed and things of that nature, he was saying anywhere, he predicted 2 to 8 weeks. So.
Before that number of
somewhere-
people have it?
No, before we can see stuff,
Resolution?
yeah, as far as schools and.
Man, we're gonna see the effects of
things
this for
like that.
years.
Yeah, as far as the
Years.
schools coming back and being opened again, he was saying.
See,
2 to
that's,
8 weeks.
all that is that's like it's just my personal opinion, and I am a bit of a conspiracy theorist, to be honest with you, but all that is creating more hysteria.
Yeah.
So, for example, if the kids are out of school, yet everyone's meeting at Kroger and Walmart and Target to buy stuff and mix germs, ain't gonna solve any problems, right? So he says 70 to 100 million people are gonna have coronavirus by the time this is all done. Let's just assume he's way off, and 5 million people have coronavirus.
Still a lot of people.
We don't have the capacity of the hospitals for that.
No.
Like, what we're experiencing now is what we're gonna be telling, this is like gonna be like, where were you when 9/11 happened, or where were you when, man landed on the moon and all that kind of stuff, like, this is
Yeah,
big stuff.
The thing is, if you don't have the tests to test people, you don't know who has it,
Yeah.
and then everybody's just spreading it.
And I think that's what, one of, I don't recall who it was saying on the news this morning, but he said it was like getting or ordering a printer machine and not purchasing the ink. And that's the effect
Hmm.
that a lot of these places are having. They're not getting everything to test and hold, they're getting a part, but not the main key element, I was like, wow.
And this also exposes the fact that very few organizations have systems
Right.
to deal with this,
Yeah.
right? So whenever you see a reaction, it is either a system or the beginning of a system. So do you see how the concepts that we're teaching you actually are everywhere? Systems, lead generation,
Yeah.
etc. So here would be my advice to you. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm trying to think of when this was. Anytime there's like some type of like thing, right? Remember when there was like an ice storm here and like no one could leave their house for 2 or 3 days? Or a week or something like that? This is 4 or 5 years ago. Or when there was like I forget what it was, but I remember sending out a message to all the people in my database that were local, basically saying, hey, I just want to make sure everything is okay, and I'd like to help however I can. Right? When, in this type of situation, I think what people want more than anything is like a level-headed, genuine, caring conversation. It is not knock, 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 I'm here to potentially spread germs at you, do you know of anyone that wants to buy real estate, sell real estate, or invest in real estate?
Right.
Right, but it could be a very good time, while people are most likely not working, to get them on the telephone and let them know you're thinking about them, right? And you might end up delivering a dinner, or you might end up being a soothing, calming voice in the midst of their hysteria. Now, who's gonna remember you? Are the people gonna remember that?
Yeah, that's what they'll remember.
Exactly. So I think the best strategy in this type of environment is to, obviously take the precautions that they're advising, right? Washing your hands and staying home if you're sick and all that. But it's also to be a kind of a voice of compassion and a voice of reason. And don't go online and create hysteria. Stay positive.
Yeah. Positivity.
And reach out to the people that you, I mean, like you said, don't sit on the couch and do nothing for a month. You know, this is the time where you say, okay, well, I'm probably not gonna go to many strangers' homes right now, right? But I bet I could learn to be a master of FMLS. I bet I could learn how to be a master of command. I bet I could study scripts like nobody's business, so when it is time where people are more willing to allow you in their homes and these kind of things, you will be way prepared, right? You can sit behind the computer and build your buyer presentation, listing presentation, right? There's a lot of clerical work and a lot of administrative work, particularly you guys are both, basically beginning your careers. A lot of the stuff that doesn't quite oftentimes make it to the top of the list because you're being told to go find business, it's a great time to do it,
Yeah.
right? So don't tell me you ain't got any time.
That's what
Right.
I do.
You got as much time as I do. I'm not saying I'm some master, but the more control you have over your time, and the more focused and purposeful you are about how you spend your time, particularly in this environment, will dictate how you come out of it, right? And a good example of that is, so back, what was that, 12, 13 years ago when we encountered the first, or the last recession, not last recession, but the financial crisis or whatever you wanna call it, housing crisis. KW was number 5 in the world, or let's say in the country, in real estate. So we went into the shift number 5. We came out of the shift number 1. Right? So Gary Keller says the biggest shift in opportunity does not generally come in up markets, it comes in down markets, right? And I'm not saying this is a down market, I'm not saying it's an up market either, but it is chaos,
An opportunity.
right? Warren Buffett says you buy when blood's on the street, and you sell when everyone's buying, right? Not to get gory, but what he means by blood on the street is craziness and hysteria, people not knowing what to do. And when you are the calming force for your family and for your colleagues and for your community and these kind of things, and you come from contribution, you will come out ahead. So be purposeful about how you use your time in this environment.
Most definitely.
Right, we're gonna huddle here in a little while and try to figure out, okay, are we gonna Zoom these meetings? Are we gonna Facebook Live these meetings? Like, who's coming into the office, who's not coming into the office, right? What do we do about Ignite? I mean, we have thousands of decisions to make, right? But this is where the real leaders show up, right? And this is where you can go in and say, I'm gonna use this time to go learn everything I haven't had time to learn yet.
Exactly.
Right, and I'm gonna use this time to study the comps, right? So when they finally let me into the houses, I'm gonna go see this stuff in person, right? But you can kinda do, nowadays they got virtual tours and you go look at all the pictures, you got 50 pictures or something, you go look, say, okay, today I'm gonna learn about Smyrna. Okay, what's 200 get me, what's 300 get me, what's 400 get me? What's selling, what's under contract, how long are things taken, how big is this place, what's the price per square foot, right? You're researching things. Because you don't wanna get into, you don't wanna be paralyzed because of this.
Right.
But this is also a good time to remember why we're here. And I believe that real estate, I think I said it yesterday, is, I don't believe that we were put on this earth to sling homes 24/7. Right. I think I was a believer in this when I signed on, and I think about it every single day. God, family, and then business. Right? And this is your opportunity to position yourself properly, intelligently, so when things do settle down a little bit, you will be much better positioned and much more experienced and much more knowledgeable than you are right now.
That's good.
Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
This might be the best time to call people, right? Just remember, just treat people the way you'd like to be treated. There's a lot of people that are freaking out. There's a lot of people that, have family members that they can't visit. There's a lot of people who have elderly parents who they're worried about.
That's what I'm worried about, it's the elderly folks.
Right.
My parents are both gone, but, I know a lot of people and.
Yeah, my mother-in-law's in a, independent living, facility. I run a real estate business. If y'all don't sell anything, I don't make any money, right? We all have to think about where we're at,
We do.
right? My father owns a store that people are probably not coming much to, right? We all have to think about where we are. I hate to say it, but oftentimes money is a pretty good defense for this kind of stuff. So money is good when you do good things with it, and money is bad when you do bad things with it. But don't be afraid to go out there and make your mark, Let's spend just a second on open houses, if you'd like. So Keller Williams talks a little bit about this idea of what I've heard called the 7th level open house.
Okay.
And if you Google that, you can see like a little chart. But basically, let's do some comparison, okay? The lowest level of open house, which is going to yield you the worst results, is you wake up Sunday morning, or let's say Saturday you decide to host an open house, Sunday you wake up, you rush to go put a sign or two out in the yard, you buy 5 balloons, and you show up. Will that help? Will that be effective?
No.
Well,
Not
it
to the
will-
extent that you need it to be.
I'm headed there.
Okay.
But is that better than doing nothing?
It's better than doing nothing.
Okay, so it is effective, but to the lowest degree. What would be an example of something that's more impressive than that?
To go door knocking the day before.
Yeah, so I'd say that's like a couple of steps more impressive.
Okay.
But going door knocking, another thing would be to have more signs.
More
More
signs.
signs out
Right.
earlier.
Like, why would you only put 2 or 3 signs?
Yeah,
Why don't you
we
put
need
30
more
signs?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Do you believe if you have more signs, you'll have more people?
I do.
More
I agree.
people will see it.
Right? Do you think there's a chance that if you put out 30 signs and somebody will steal a couple of them?
That's possible. Or
Do you think it might piss somebody off and they'll
Yeah,
kick it and ruin it or whatever?
It's possible, yes.
Okay, so if that happens, are you gonna say to yourself, I feel sorry for that guy, but that's the cost of doing business, right? So if instead of having 3 people at your open house, you have 40, and you turn 3 of those into buyers,
Okay,
think you
so
can
it's-
afford a couple signs?
Yeah.
There's a woman, Sarah Reynolds, who's, I think, number 3 in all of Keller Williams right now. And she gets fined all the time. She's in DC, Northern Virginia area. She's, I get fined all the time for having sign violations. So
And
it's
that's
cost
what
of
I
doing
was-
business.
That's what I was gonna say.
$50 here, $100 here, $50
Yeah.
here, I don't care.
Mhm.
I want people at my open house, I'll do whatever it takes,
Yeah,
right? Now, she's making millions of dollars a year.
yeah.
So there's 2 takeaways. Number 1 is she can make $1 million a year, right? Meaning you could too. And it's all in how you think of it. You're gonna let somebody take one of your signs and it's gonna ruin the rest of your day? Or you're just gonna write it off and say, whatever, somebody's having a bad day, and hopefully that sign, somebody saw it and came to the open house before they ruined it, right? So putting more signs out there would be helpful,
Yeah,
right? Door knocking would be helpful.
yeah, it sure is.
Doing some Facebook ads would be helpful. Directing them to the people that are nearest to that open house. Doing some cold calling around there. Maybe if your open house, let's say, is 2 to 4, and from 1 to 2, you have it for neighbors only. Right?
Okay.
So you can have a little bit more focused time with the people that you'd probably be having different conversations with, right? You might more likely be having conversations around, you know, what the market's like and what other properties nearby are selling for, and maybe even what you're doing to show off the fact that you help sellers sell, right? And when people visit the open house, you might be speaking more in terms of like, from a buyer lens, if you will, right? So you could cold call people or door knock people and say, hey, neighbors only from 1 to 2, right? And from 2 to 4, it's gonna be open to everybody, right? You could have some type of concession of some sort. Maybe have some coffee there, some donuts there, or some cookies, or something cute. Right, I think when Heather hosted my open house the other day, she had a bunch of Purell little things. I mean, it's just something that they remember you by.
Yeah.
Because remember, more than likely, they're going to other open houses than you, which means you better have more of a vision. Everything they experience that day, they're gonna naturally be comparing the experience with you, with the experience with the other properties. So the more visuals you have, right, the more of a great experience being in the home with you was, and the more uniquely, let's say, that you follow up with that person, right, the frequency and the intensity and the type, right, whether it's a video, text, or something cute like that, the more impressive it will be. Or, hey, by the way, I don't know if anyone showed you this, but here's the mobile app that you can now use to search for properties. Let me see your phone, I'll put it on the phone for you. Right? Or, hey, you want the mobile app? I'll send you an invite right now. What's your email? What's your cell number? Oftentimes I work with a lot of buyers and sellers in the area, and I happen to know of properties that might be available before anyone else. So if I'm more familiar with what you want, and I find something like that, would you like me to call you? Well, yeah. Okay, great. So make sure I understand completely what you're looking for. So if I happen to find something, I'll let you know right away. Now, are you gonna come across 10 properties a day? Are you gonna come across the home that they might want? I don't know. But if you say that, and the other guys don't say that, you win. Make sense? So that's pre-open house, right? Then you wanna be thinking through, what do you do at the open house, right? What's the value? Why would they sign in? What are you gonna give them, right? So you might give them the app, or offer the app. You might use the script I just said about unlisted properties, right, that haven't hit the market yet, coming soon or something, okay? Then the follow-up afterwards. What are you gonna do afterwards that's gonna set you apart from the others, right? So that might be a video text. Video text is really popular now. Hey, I just wanted to thank you for, I'm wrapping up the open house. Wanted to thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And, you wanna have some type of personal exchange with them. So for example, let's say you're trying to find out why they're moving or when they're moving or something like that. And I don't know, let's say you just found out their daughter's getting ready to go off to college or something, right? Say, hope your daughter enjoys her time at Georgia Tech. Make sure they know that you were listening.
You were listening, yeah.
Right? And nice and short and sweet, literally 10, 15 seconds, right? It's so great to meet you and your family today. Hope your daughter enjoys her time at Georgia Tech. I'll keep my eyes open for properties, with 4 bedrooms and a nice big flat backyard. And if there's any questions you have about using the app, please let me know. Right? I'll reach out to you soon. You might send them an email the next day. You might send them a random home the next day. Hey, I was looking at this home and I thought of you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to help. Is that salesy?
Sounds helpful.
Yeah.
I agree. And even if it was salesy, don't you want to work with somebody that's aggressive? These people are negotiating on your behalf. You don't want some schmo, right? Donna, you do want an aggressive real estate agent, right?
Yeah, I want somebody to help me find a house.
Good. That's why you're
Somebody to help
hiring me.
Sell my house.
That's good, because that's why you hired me. Do most professionals professionals that are, let's say negotiating sports contracts, do they use agents,
Yeah,
right?
we do.
Right. You want somebody
Does
to
Donald
advocate.
Trump go and negotiate trade things, or does he have professional negotiators? Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
I don't know about him.
'Cause he
But
would.
normally speaking,
He would do his own thing.
do companies hire professional people to go negotiate?
They do.
Okay.
Yes,
Does the US government hire professional negotiators to deal with hostage situations?
they do.
Exactly. Do you think those guys are pushovers? Do you think those guys study?
Yeah,
Do you think those guys practice?
yeah,
Okay, me too.
Of course.
Isn't that who you want in your corner?
it sure is.
Or do you want your uncle that just got his real estate license? I'm just being honest.
Mhm.
Right. And you say it with that kind of tone, like that seriousness, and the vast majority of people will be like, I think kind of like, you're maybe a little weird, but I think I like you.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time somebody said that to me.
But people don't, I don't think they think about it that way right off the bat.
They
So
don't.
it kind of gives them something to think about, and, yeah.
That's right. Does that, I know we're just briefly covering it, but does that give you something to work with?
It sure does.
Okay.
Give you quite a bit to work with.
Yep. All right, just in summary, just stay tuned. We're gonna be, communicating primarily probably by the WhatsApp.
Okay.
We'll send out a schedule, we'll keep everyone abreast of what's going on. I don't want anyone to feel like they are, putting themselves in any type of danger or risk or anything like that.
Right.
Yet my intention is not to sit around and do nothing, over the next week or so, or however long it takes. So my intention is to make myself available, to put out some content that is helping you guys for your business and particularly for this environment. And, if you have any questions of any kind, let me know. And you can also, obviously, kind of cruise through the ramp-up system as well.
Yeah. I gotta do that.
So you have some stuff on the schedule today. Is that canceled?
We'll see. What I think is that at the very least, I might have a person or two like I had this morning, and we'll talk about that stuff. And it will be recorded. So, if you wanna be around, be around. If you feel more comfortable at home, you can watch it later. We're all kind of in this gray area right now. But I'm here, and I'm here, and I have my time blocked for those events, and I plan on talking about those topics.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah. And
All right.
I sent you a message yesterday, to ask for the login information for the
Yes,
stuff. Cause I wanna start time blocking and trying to do that.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna have you speak with Lee about that. So the way that we're doing it at the moment is, dealing with this at the moment is, Vulcan, I can give it to you.
okay,
Cole, I need you to sign in to one of the computers here to get.
okay, so I have to do that from here.
What is this for?
This is the, to get the, expire, I guess, the FISBOs and.
Yeah, so Vulcan 7.
And what is the cold? How different is that from Vulcan?
It's totally different data. So Cole is, you can come in.
Sorry, I was kind of like, I didn't want to interrupt.
That's okay. Cole is, basically for what they call circle prospecting. So that would be like, let's say an open house, like I wanna have an open house here, and I wanna call the 1,000 people that live closest, that would be their
Okay.
information. So that is a bit more static. I think they update that like maybe once a week or once a month or something. The Vulcan data, the FISBOs and expires, is updated all the time.
Okay.
So Vulcan is here. It's, vulcan7.com is the password, or is the website. Roswell PC is the username, and consultants with an exclamation point. I think that's all lowercase.
Okay.
Consultants with an exclamation point is the password. And then if you, and there's like some videos on how to use it and all that kind of thing. Cole?
On their site.
Yeah, Cole is, I'll sign you out in the big room if you want.
But you think that I would only need to use that one is circle prospect?
Circle prospecting would be, it's essentially the coldest form of lead generation. So you would say, let's say you have a new listing or open house or something, and you wanna call the people nearby to tell them that you have that listing. Hey, this is new to the market, just wanted to let you know, we're having owners only, or neighbors only open house from 1 to 2. Wanted to invite you, we'll have some cookies and milk,
Okay.
right? And they say, oh, interesting. Hey, let me ask you, if you don't mind, do you have somebody that you reach out to when you have a real estate question?
Mhm.
Or who's the real estate agent that you reach out to when you have a real estate question? I don't have one. Great, well, we have this really cool app that I'd like to get into your hands. You know, and you tell them about it for 5 or 10 seconds. You know, if you could search properties all day long, by neighborhoods, which is a feature you can't do with any of the other search portals, would that be helpful for you? Well, yeah, great, I'll need your email address. Next thing you know, they're searching for homes and they're your client. Now, if you make 500 of those phone calls a day, you think you're gonna find some business?
Yeah.
I do too.
Mhm.
Okay.